you know, I got to give it to you Democrats. You guys will definitely like die on a hill, okay? Because I'm seeing people, oh my God, I'm embarrassed to be an American today. I can't believe what happened in the White House. It was revolting. It was disgusting. It was a shame. But you were proud to be an American when the president couldn't find his way off of a stage. You were proud to be an American when the vice president couldn't even put a sentence together. You had all these other moments to be embarrassed to be an American. Yet you choose the moment when somebody finally stands up and puts our country first, calls out the bullshit from this little embezzler, this little micro midget Oompa Loompa who comes over here demanding, stomping his little size 2 foot around. Now you're embarrassed to be an American? Please, spare me.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So we got to follow up on the fallout that has happened as a result of probably one of the most historic moments in the Oval Office, which is the brawl, the shouting match that happened between President Trump, J.D. Vance, and Volodymyr Zelenskyy, the president of Ukraine, because Volodymyr Zelenskyy doesn't really want peace, okay? Or put it this way, he wants peace on unreasonable terms, right? Terms that will never happen. The President of the United States, President Trump, J.D. Vance, tried to explain to him that, listen, you're not going to get your way, right? It's either our way, a.k.a. what we want, what's in America's best interest, or no way. Because honestly, what's in America's best interest is what's in Ukraine's best interest. Because without America, hey, Ukraine wouldn't last very long in this war against Russia. And I really want to highlight J.D. Vance because I think that this exchange in the Oval Office may have won J.D. Vance the GOP primary in 2028 because the way that he defended the president, okay, the way that he had the president's back was something that we haven't really seen before, right? Could you imagine if Mike Pence was in that situation? Do you think that Mike Pence would have defended President Trump the same way that J.D. Vance did? Actually, we know for a fact because Mike Pence couldn't even defend President Trump from the Democrats, right? We know damn well he would never defend President Trump from Zelensky the same way that J.D. Vance did.
In their lives.
The one thing I think we can agree on is we shouldn't shut down the government over a dispute. And you want to shut it down. You keep talking about it.
The last time, Chuck, you shut it down.
No.
And then you opened it up very quickly. And
20 times.
I don't want to do what you did.
20 times
Chuck,
you have called for, I will shut down the government if I don't get my wool. None of us have said.
You want to know something?
You've said it.
Okay, you want to put that on
You've
my...
said it.
I'll take it.
Okay, good.
You know what I'll say? Yes. If we don't get what we want, one way or the other, whether it's through you, through a military, through anything you want to call, I will shut down the government.
Okay,
absolutely.
fair enough.
And
We
I am
disagree.
proud, and I'll
We
tell you
disagree.
what, I am proud to shut down the government for border security, Chuck, because the people of this country don't want criminals and people that have lots of problems and drugs pouring into our country.
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you are
Mr.
not
President,
strong...
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come to the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the President for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Come once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military?
We have problems.
And do you think that it's respectful
I will answer.
to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems. Even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless.
You don't
God
know
bless.
that.
You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because
I'm
you're in no
answering on
position
this
to
question.
dictate that.
That's
Remember
exactly what
this.
I'm not
You're
dictating.
in no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very good.
You will feel influenced.
We're going to feel very good and very strong.
Furthermore, we want to get paid back, okay? Because the Europeans apparently have a loan set up with Ukraine in which the Europeans are going to get paid back for helping out Ukraine, at least somewhat. But when it comes to the United States, Zelensky thinks that the money that we're giving him is free, right? They don't have to pay it back. And he's acting real funny, right? Zelensky's acting real funny when it comes to this minerals deal.
President Trump sent me there to, again, we were supposed to bring the Ukrainian people closer to the U.S. people, send a strong signal to Russian leadership that they had not only shared values, but now shared economic interest, and also have a strong signal for the American people that their tax dollars were actually going to work. Instead, President Zelensky and I had a very tough 45-minute meeting at a very loud decibel level, and I kept telling him, Mr. President, the purpose of this is to show the Russians there is no daylight between us. And at the end of the meeting, he said, well, I'm not signing this. And I said, at the end of the meeting, I said to him, what do you want to go out and tell the press? I said, because I don't want to go out and show the Russians that there's daylight in between us. And he said, well, I'm going to go out and say I'll sign it in Munich. Then he got to Munich, and he ran into Vice President Vance and Secretary Rubio, very different than Vice President Harris and Secretary Blinken, but he didn't sign the agreement. So finally, we were supposed to have the signing today. It was supposed to be a great day, and this is one of the biggest own goals in diplomatic history.
Yeah, so you see that, you heard that. Apparently Zelensky is being funny with the money, right? Because that's ultimately what this is about, okay? At least publicly, he has signaled his support for signing this minerals deal, okay, which would benefit the United States of America, right, economically. And then he gets to the White House, and all of a sudden he wants to show his ass, right, which makes me think that this was planned. He planned to come to the White House and to show out in front of the liberal media and the Democrats and the neocons, because he knew that they would support him over the United States of America, okay? That's how treasonous these people are, right? So it seems as if this is backfire, because now, according to the Washington Post, there are tears and shock in Ukraine and Europe after a heated Zelensky-Trump meeting. Quote, I'm just crying because of what I hear, one Ukrainian lawmaker said of the media, echoing the dismayed reactions of others in Europe. Yeah, so they're boo-hoo-wine and grind about this, right? And you know it's bad, right? You know it's really bad when you have neocons like Lindsey Graham coming out and saying, yeah, Zelensky, he lost me with this meeting.
Complete, utter disaster. I've been to Ukraine 8 or 9 times since the war started. I understand the consequences of Putin's actions against Ukraine. I appreciate what the Ukrainian people have done. They fought like tigers. At the end of the day, I was hoping that this minerals deal, which would be transformative in the relationship, would go over well. I talked to Zelensky this morning. Don't take the bait. President Trump was in a very good mood last night. Somebody asked me, am I embarrassed about Trump? I have never been more proud of the president. I was very proud of J.D. Vance, standing up for our country. We want to be helpful. What I saw in the Oval Office was disrespectful, and I don't know if we can ever do business with Zelensky again. I think most Americans saw a guy that they would not want to go in business with. The way he handled the meeting, the way he confronted the president was just over the top. So I think the relationship between Ukraine and America is important, vitally important. But can Zelensky do a deal with the United States? After what I saw, I don't know.
Yeah, so I think that Lindsey Graham is calling for regime change, right? He's calling for a new puppet. He's like, this puppet isn't working the way that we want, right? Because, yeah, I mean, look, again, this was supposed to be a business deal, okay? I mean, we're trying to get paid here. We're trying to get paid back. We know damn well Ukraine is not paying us back any other way, right? So we basically drafted up an agreement that said that, hey, the United States will receive 50% of revenue from the extraction of Ukraine's rare earth elements and other minerals, okay? And the remaining profits were earmarked for Ukraine's economic development and investment initiative. So basically, you know, this was mutually beneficial. And this clown screwed it up, right? And I'm convinced that probably the main reason why he was comfortable doing this is because he thought that he would have the backing of the liberal media, the Democrats, and all of the neocons. And as you just saw there, he doesn't really seem to have the backing of all the neocons. Like, for example, Lindsey Graham. In fact, the king of neocons, John Bolton, is actually upset with the other neocons who have decided to side with the United States of America over Ukraine and Zelensky. In fact, John Bolton went as far as to demand that Marco Rubio, who at least formerly was a neocon, and others resign in the Trump administration due to the fact they're supporting America's interests over Ukraine's interests. Take a look.
Yeah, this is really one of the most disgraceful performances that I've seen, and I think it's important to understand that, in particular, Trump and Vance own this personally. This is the kind of attack on a country that's defending itself from an unprovoked aggression, and they just unleashed on Zelensky in public. And whether they planned it or not, I don't know. I'm not that concerned with questions of etiquette. I am concerned that the president, vice president of the United States have sided with the aggressor, with, as Mike Waltz was just saying there, somebody who's trying to recreate the Russian Empire, something he's been very clear about since 2005 at least. And now you have, sadly, both Mike Waltz and Marco Rubio in the administration and apparently staying. I just say, remember, this is not the second month of Trump's tenure. This is the 50th month of his 2-year term. And this is the point when somebody does 180 degrees from understanding American allies to backing America's adversaries, that you resign.
Mark, are you saying Marco Rubio should resign?
And Mike Waltz, this is really the time to do it. If they don't get out now, I think their reputations will suffer for a long, long time. And that would be sad, because their record in believing in a strong American national security policy has been very good up until now.
Yeah. So according to John Bolton, neocons, your reputation will suffer if you try to bring about peace, which tells you everything you need to know about how bloodthirsty these warmongers are, right? Your reputation suffers if you try to get peace, okay? Peace. That's where we're at in this country. So with that being said, President Trump is doubling and tripling down on his criticisms of Zelensky. In fact, apparently Zelensky has been begging to come back to the White House, right? Zelensky wants to come back to the White House after getting kicked out. But again, President Trump is not backing down despite the outrage from the liberal media, the neocons, and the Democrats. Take a look.
Mr. President, how long do you think it will take for Zelensky to want peace and be invited back to the White House?
Well, he says he wants it now. He wants to come back right now, but I can't do that.
Are you going to end?
Very much overplayed his hand. We're looking for peace. We're not looking for somebody that's going to sign up as strong power and then not make peace because they feel emboldened, and that's what I saw happening. I'm looking for peace. We're not looking to go into a 10-year war and play games. We want peace. And you saw what I saw today. This is a man that wants to get us signed up and keep fighting, and we're not doing that. Not for this country.
What does Zelensky need to do to restart talks with you?
He's got to say, I want to make peace. He doesn't have to stand there and say about Putin this, Putin that, all negative things. He's got to say, I want to make peace. I don't want to fight a war any longer. His people are dying. He doesn't have the cards, just so you understand it, okay? I can tell you.
Did you tell Zelensky to leave the White House?
I don't have to tell you that. Go ahead. I think you know the answer to that. What? Wait.
Do you trust Zelensky?
Look, I don't trust or distrust anybody. I just want to get a deal done. And if the deal happens, good. But you can't embolden somebody that does not have the cards, and all of a sudden that person says, oh, well, now I can keep fighting. We're not going to keep fighting. You're going to get the war done, or let them go and see what happens. Let them fight it out.
Yeah, see, now you heard that, okay? Volodymyr Zelensky has some work to do, right? To get back in the good graces of President Trump and the administration if he wants our help. And I got to tell you, he's not doing a good job at getting back in our good graces. So, I mean, who knows? He may just have to fight it out without our help and just, see how it goes, okay? Thoughts and prayers. Because in this Fox News interview that he did with Bret Baier after the fallout, he was asked by Bret Baier multiple times about whether or not he would issue an apology to the president. And he basically just won't really do it. At least not definitively. Take a look.
We are pleased to welcome back to Special Report Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy. Mr. President, thank you for the time today, especially on this day, to continue to do this interview. President Trump said after your meeting that you disrespected him and the Vice President and all of America in the Oval Office. Do you think you did, and do you think you owe an apology to President Trump?
Thank you so much. First of all, thank you for the invitation, for this dialogue, and good evening to all your country, to all Americans. I'm very thankful to Americans for all your support. You did a lot. I'm thankful to President Trump and to Congress bipartisan support. And I was always very thankful from all our people. You helped us a lot from the very beginning during 3 years of full-scale invasion. You helped us to survive. Anyway, we are strategic partners, and even in such tough dialogue, and I think we have to be very honest, and we have to be very direct to understand each other, because it's very, for us, very necessary to President Trump, and I'm with all respect that he wants to finish this war, but nobody wants to finish more than we, because we in Ukraine, we are in this war.
So I'm not hearing from you, Mr. President, a thought that you owe the President an apology.
No, I respect President and I respect American people, and if I don't know if I think that we have to be very open and very honest, and I'm not sure that we did something bad. I think maybe sometimes some things we have to discuss out of media, with all respect to democracy and to a free media. But there are things where we have to understand the position of Ukraine and Ukrainians, and I think that is the most important thing. Am I not right?
Leaving the White House today, President Trump said this.
He's looking to go on and fight. He wants to come back right now, but I can't do that.
What do you make of that? Do you want to continue fighting? Do you want peace? And if he had the opportunity to go back to the White House right now, would you do it?
No. First of all, we want peace. That's why I'm in the United States. That's why I visited President Trump. And thanks for the invitation again. The deal on minerals is the first step to security guarantees. It's meant for the peace, closer to peace. That's why I'm here. And I have...
Yeah, so again, fascinating stuff, okay? Zelensky has an opportunity to apologize, right? To try to get back in the good graces of the president. But it seems as if he's refusing, okay? In fact, this guy was confronted by Bret Baier on the criticisms that Democrats have levied at President Trump, basically calling President Trump Putin's lapdog. And Zelensky refused to denounce these criticisms, to say, no, that's wrong, which, you know, in my opinion, I think it's just a basic thing, right, to do if you want money, right, if you want help. But, you know, apparently Zelensky is refusing to do this.
The Democratic senator said that Trump has become Putin's lapdog. Do you agree with that President Trump is too close to Vladimir Putin in your mind?
We spoke about it, and I think today very openly President Trump, he said that I want to be in the middle, otherwise I will not put these guys at the table.
And is he right?
I want to be very honest, I want really him to be more at our side. I will explain why. Because it's not just that the war began somewhere between our countries. The war began when Russia brought this war to our country, and they're not right. And they are not right. They didn't respect our territorial integrity. They brought the war on our territory to our families. Sorry for repeating, to our houses. And they're not right. And of course, all the Ukrainians want to hear strong position of the United States on our side. From one side, it's understandable. From another side, he wants to find some way of dialogue with Putin. But he always said, as I remember, he always said that peace through strength.
Yeah, and Ukraine is the weakest country involved in these negotiations. I'm not sure if Zelensky realizes this, but hey, it's hard to achieve peace through strength when you are weak. Ukraine is weak without the United States of America. Okay, so, you know, I don't know if this guy gets it. Maybe he does, right? Because when he was asked at the interview about the relationship between him and Trump, and whether or not it can be salvaged, he kind of somewhat came up with a semblance of an apology.
Last thing, Mr. President.
Yeah.
Do you think your relationship with Donald Trump, President Trump, after today, can be salvaged?
Can be. Yes, of course, because it's relations more than two presidents. It's the historical relations, strong relations between our people. And that's why I always began with to thank your people, from our people. And this is the most important. And of course, thankful to President and of course to Congress, but first of all to your people. Your people helped to save our people. People, the first. Human rights, the first. This is very, very important. And we are thankful and sorry for this. I mean, we wanted very much to have only strong relations, and I'm very calm that we will have it.
Yeah, so I don't know if that is an apology or not, right? I have no clue whatsoever. But apparently the Trump White House is not taking it that way, because Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, has come out and said that the Trump administration is demanding an apology, right? They want an apology from Zelensky for what happened at the White House. Take a look.
What specifically do you want to see President Zelensky apologize for?
Well, apologize for turning this thing into the fiasco for him that it became. There was no need for him to go in there and become antagonistic. Look, this thing went off the rails. You were there, I believe. It went off the rails when he said, let me ask you a question to the vice president. What kind of diplomacy are you talking about? Well, this is a serious thing. I mean, thousands of people have been killed, thousands. And he talks about all these horrible things that have happened to prisoners of war and children, all true, all bad. This is what we're dealing with here. It needs to come to an end. We are trying to bring it to an end. The way you bring it to an end is you get Russia to the table to talk. And he understands that attacking Putin, no matter how anyone may feel about him personally, forcing the president into a position where you're trying to goad him into attacking Putin, calling him names, maximalist demands about Russia having to pay for the reconstruction, all the sorts of things that you talk about in a negotiation. Well, when you start talking about that aggressively, and the president's a deal maker, he's made deals his entire life, you're not going to get people to the table. And so you start to perceive that maybe Zelensky doesn't want a peace deal. He says he does, but maybe he doesn't. And that active, open undermining of efforts to bring about peace is deeply frustrating for everyone who's been involved in communications with them leading up to today. And I think he should apologize for wasting our time for a meeting that was going to end the way it did.
You yourself have said previously that Putin cannot be trusted in negotiations. That was the point that President Zelensky was ultimately making during that conversation, is that there cannot be an agreement without security guarantees, because he was talking about all the ceasefire agreements before, or agreements that Putin has just blown past. I mean, do you still feel that way, that Putin cannot be trusted in these negotiations?
Well, I was there yesterday when the president said in front of the media that our approach is going to be trust but verify. President Trump's made deals his entire life. He's not going to get suckered into some deal that's not a real deal. We all understand this. We understand it on our end for certain. And so the goal here is to get to a place we have to explore whether peace is possible. I've said this repeatedly. I don't know. I think it is, based on what they've said so far, but we have to explore that. How else is this war going to end? I ask people, what is the European plan to end this war? I can tell you what one foreign minister told me, and I'm not going to say who it was, but I can tell you what one of them told me, and that is that the war goes on for another year, and at that point, Russia will feel so weakened that they'll beg for a peace. That's another year of killing, another year of dying, another year of destruction, and by the way, not a very realistic plan in my point of view. So if there's a chance at peace, even if it's a 1% chance, that needs to be explored, and that's what President Trump is trying to do here.
Yeah, Marco Rubio is spot on. He's spot on. There is basically zero chance that the Europeans are going to get the outcome they're looking for, right? Which is for Ukraine to join NATO, for Ukraine to get all the land back, and for Russia to go away, right? Who knows? Maybe they want to take some parts of Russia. I don't know. I'm just saying that the Europeans don't have a real plan. We do have a real plan, and if Europe and Ukraine, if they want peace, then they either need to get on board or they can fight this war themselves. So with that being said, I want to say this. Shout out to President Trump's cabinet. And this is something I talked about before, but I think stories like this, moments like this, situations like this really drive home this point, that you would not have seen this reaction in which President Trump's cabinet has basically coalesced around him and defended him. You would not have seen this moment back in 2016, right? If this had happened back in 2016, everybody would have turned on him, right? The neocons, the Democrats, all the Republicans, his cabinet, they would have all turned on the president, right? I mean, we already talked about it. Could you imagine how Mike Pence would have reacted, right? He would have just sat there. Who knows? Maybe he would have came to the defense of Zelensky. Maybe he would have sided with Zelensky. I'm just saying that this cabinet, Trump 2.0, is light years better than Trump 1.0. Okay, and I think what's fascinating about this, and I've said this before, and you know, some people get offended when I say this, but notice some of President Trump's strongest supporters. J.D. Vance used to hate Trump. Marco Rubio didn't like President Trump, right? Because President Trump essentially, basically, put them in their places, right? Like they lost the war against Trump. They've now become his most loyal allies, right? It's kind of crazy how that works. And that's what I was telling people when, you know, J.D. Vance was picked as VP and when Marco Rubio was picked as Secretary of State. I said, well, here's the thing. They once hated Trump and now they're on Trump's side. A lot of times your enemies, once you flip them into your friends, once they become your allies, they become your strongest allies because they know firsthand what it's like to have you as an enemy. They much rather be your ally than your enemy. So therefore they just choose to be your ally, and they're going to be your strongest ally because of their past experience being an enemy, right? And I think that's what you're witnessing here. So hey, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.